Happy morning, I'm Paige. This is the Happy Kitchen, where anyone can be a great cook. And today we are making gluten-free stew meal prep. The reason why I say it's meal prep is because on a Sunday, if I have the time, I enjoy doing something slow and making a big batch so that I can either have it for the whole week, or I can have it a couple days that week and throw more in the freezer and have it for a day when I don't feel like cooking and I can just pull it out of the freezer. And so I do a lot of this when I have time on a Sunday and I'm home. I enjoy cooking like a large batch of something nice and slow, so like stew is really easy. I also do this with I make a big batch of pozole, etc. So let's get started cooking our stew. First up, you are going to get your oil heating up. Use a neutral oil. I'm using avocado oil. Put in about 3 tablespoons and put that over medium heat. I'm using medium heat on a Dutch oven. If you aren't using a Dutch oven, you might need to turn up your heat a little bit to get a nice sear. Start to sear your stew meat in small batches. I bought my stew meat already cut up, and I can't remember if I was either being lazy or I didn't have time this day, but I did not season my meat beforehand. If you do have time, lay all your stew meat out on like a baking sheet and season with salt and pepper and let that sit for about 30 minutes before you start to sear in batches. I seasoned after I threw in a batch while it was searing on the one side. You want to sear in small batches, that way you get a nice sear on every piece. Work in small batches, and then in between you might need to add a little bit more oil, and if you ever do that, make sure that you allow that oil to heat up as well. Don't throw the meat in right away while the oil is cold. Then you are going to add in a little bit more avocado oil or your neutral oil. I did about 2 tablespoons. Allow that to heat up as well, and turn your heat a little bit lower than you had it for searing your meat. And you're gonna throw in an entire sweet onion diced in large pieces. Get that starting to cook. It's not a big deal that the meat has browned the bottom of the pan. All of that flavor is going to come off as you cook everything. Then you're going to add in your potatoes. I like gold potatoes in my stew. And you're going to season with salt, pepper, and garlic. Your onion should be taking on some color now and starting to caramelize a little bit. You're gonna move everything to the sides once that starts happening and create a small space in the center of the pot where you can put your tomato paste. I used maybe 2 teaspoons of tomato paste. Allow that to cook on the bottom for 30 seconds or so, and then you can stir everything together. Start dissolving 2 tablespoons of the Better Than Bouillon vegetable base in 1 cup of hot water. And then once you get that all dissolved, you can add it over and start stirring. I then added in a bay leaf, and I added the seared meat on top. And you can really see here that I only seared the meat. I did not allow it to cook all the way through. If you do that, your meat's gonna come out more tough. We wanna finish cooking it in the broth. Then you're going to season with some garlic and onion seasoning. You can see here I'm using the Penzi spices, and when you use a higher quality spice like this, the depth of flavor in anything that you cook is going to be really nice, but use what you have. At this point, I dissolved another 2 tablespoons of the vegetable base in 1 cup of hot water and added that over. You can see I love my Better Than Bouillon vegetable base, and I actually poured some hot water in the container itself because it was basically empty to get any of those last bits dissolved, and I added that in as well. Then I added a little bit more hot water over the top to try and get as much of my meat and veggies covered in the broth. I stirred everything a little bit and tried to make sure that everything was even and underneath the liquid as much as possible. I covered it while leaving a little bit of room for the air to escape, and I put it in my oven at 300 degrees to start for about 30 minutes. At my 30-minute mark, I pulled it out and I added in a bag of baby carrots because maybe I was just being lazy that day. You can chop up some carrots if you would like, but throwing in a bag of baby carrots makes it really nice and easy. I put it back in for another 30 minutes, and then when I pulled it out at the hour mark, I added in some chopped rosemary. I did about 2 sprigs, but you can adjust to your taste if you want a little more or a little less. I then threw it back in the oven and checked it every 30 minutes or so to see how it was progressing. Depending on how much you use will determine how long it takes. I have a very big batch because I was meal prepping and I wanted to have some in the freezer, and I was also taking some camping with us. At this point, I pulled all of the substance out. So I pulled the meat, the carrots, potatoes, everything like that out, and I left the liquid. So I used a slotted spoon, and I allowed everything to start to cool off and allow my meat to rest. I turned my stovetop back on a medium-low type heat, and then I got it to a low boil. And the idea with this is to reduce down some of that liquid to create more of a sauce for the stew instead of a liquid. It will reduce down slightly. Then you're gonna add in your cornstarch and cold water slurry. So I did about a half a tablespoon of cornstarch and half a cup of cold water to start. And I slowly added that in and allowed it to thicken my stew sauce. Once I got it to the consistency that I wanted, I added in my corn and allowed that to heat up and reduce down even a little bit further because the corn will add a little bit of extra water into this mixture. So you want to give it just a minute, and then you can add all of your contents back in and get that everything coated in this delicious sauce. I then allowed it to cool and packaged it up to put some in the freezer and some to go with us camping. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments down below. I make gluten-free content every single Friday. Right now, we actually just sold our home, so things might be a little bit sporadic for a little while, but I love this channel and I will be back to posting every single Friday as soon as things settle and we get wherever we're going. If you want to hear more about that, I posted a quick little video. I'll link it down below in the description. But if gluten-free content is something that you are looking for, please subscribe, join the Happy Kitchen family. Thank you so much for watching. Have a happy day.